Last week, we looked at the role of the Spirit in helping us know if we are on the right path, doing the right things, or on the wrong path, doing the wrong things. And one way in which the Spirit helps us to discern which spirit we are following, the Spirit of God or a worldly spirit. Even with the advice Paul gives us, telling the difference between the two can still be difficult, because the worldly spirit can and does disguise itself and its motives. Because the worldly spirit feeds our pride, it can blind us from the surrounding reality. We can see things in one way, but in reality they could be quite different. One way to overcome this tendency is to take a step back and ask someone we trust to open our eyes so that we might see the truth. Even this is not a surefire way to know, as the lens that we look at life through is one of our own making. And if we don't like what we hear, if it's not what we expect, we often disavow it in favor of our own understandings. So how do we know if the spirit we follow is God's or of the world? We listen for God to tell us. Now, before you start to snicker, before you roll your eyes at me, we can hear God if we listen. Maybe it will not be as profound as that of Moses on the mountaintop, or as Jesus at the River Jordan, or Peter, James, and John on Mount Tabor. But if we listen, we might just hear a still small voice telling us it's okay. Do not be afraid. Trust in me. This is the way we are to go. In my own journey, I have heard such a voice. The first time was long before I was ordained. I was alone in the church one day, venting my frustrations with God's continued efforts to help me begin to follow the right spirit, God's spirit, and not the one I had been following most of my life. I remember saying in the heat of the moment, God, who in heck is in charge of my life? Me or you? And mad as anything, I sat down in a pew and I fumed. I was furious. Then out of nowhere, I felt a hand on my shoulder and I heard the words, I am. I looked around. I was alone. But I know what I heard, and I know what I felt. Most of us, if we take the time to listen, can pinpoint a time in our lives when God made God's desire for us known. Maybe not as directly as God did for me, but more subtly, through those God places in our lives. Maybe it's family or friends. Maybe your pastor. Maybe a coworker, or even a stranger that we have met along the way. Or maybe, just maybe, through a small voice that comes from deep within us. A voice that has been calling out to us all along, slowly working its way through the noise that distracts us. Just as we might miss our turn because we are not paying attention to the road signs, if we are not listening, we might just miss what that voice has to tell us. Maybe something we need to hear. What is it we need to hear? The same thing Jesus heard. And those who were with him along the river Jordan, and again up on top of Mount Tabor. We are God's beloved. In us, God is pleased. Interestingly, this same truth was something we were asked to reflect upon during the clergy retreat I was on last week. In fact, several of our sessions centered around some of the same things I talked about in last week's Sunday message. If we are to find peace in our relationships, we must seek reconciliation. We must be able to forgive one another. Not only for those things that are known and unknown, but those things done and left undone. Things that drive a wedge between us. Because they originate from outside of us. In other words, the worldly spirit. The same one Paul warns us about in his letters to the church. Paul is not alone in his warnings. In the letter of Jude, a short letter found near the back of the New Testament, Jude says that the worldly spirits cause division, whereas the Holy Spirit enables us to know the love of God. In the first letter of John, John says, "Beloved, do not believe every spirit, but test the spirits to see whether they are from God. For many false prophets have gone out into the world." And we cannot forget the warnings of Jesus, who during the Last Supper tells his disciples, when the advocate comes, whom I will send to you from the Father, the Spirit of truth who comes from the Father, he will testify on my behalf, and not the world's. All these warnings are great, but the question still before us is, how do we know? As I've already alluded to, we cannot know if we are not listening. Not only with our ears, but with our heart, our mind, our spirit. Well, maybe not our spirit. See, our spirit is known to waver every now and then. But with the Holy Spirit, the Spirit that dwells within us, the Spirit that never wavers from the truth. I think this is part of what Peter is trying to tell us and tell his readers. To know, one must listen. Because that's what God told us to do. As we move into the season of Lent, it is a time in the church year that is set aside. It's designed to help us take the time to listen. Time to intentionally set aside those things that keep us from hearing God, and then to do those things which open ourselves up to what God is trying to tell us. This Tuesday, we begin to symbolically set these things aside that distract us during Lent, celebrating our letting go of them with a banquet. Well, maybe not a banquet, but good pancake dinner. Then on Wednesday, we come together again to enter the season of Lent in humbleness, as we are reminded that life's journey is not always easy. Yet even in the good times, and those that are toughest, we are not alone. God is and always will be with us.